but also the real economic data as we assess what it is we should do. And remember, there will be two effects. One of them would be weakening economic activity, which translates into higher unemployment, and the other would be potentially higher inflation. Again, to say it again, the timing, the scope, the scale, and the persistence of those effects are very, very uncertain. So it's not at all clear what the appropriate response for monetary policy is at this time. And and by the way, our policy is in a good place, so we think we can wait and move when it is clear what the right thing to do is. Really not at all clear what it is we should do. So people are feeling stress and concern, but unemployment hasn't gone up. Job creation is fine. Wages are in good shape. People are not people are not getting laid off at high levels. Initial claims for unemployment are not increasing, in any kind of impressive way. So the economy itself is still, in solid shape.
Just a quick follow-up. President Trump now says he does not plan to remove you as chair. When you heard that, what did you think?
I don't have anything more for you on that. I've pretty much covered that issue. Thank you. The timing, business.
Hi, thank you. Chris Kitover, Associated Press. I just wanted to follow up. Earlier, it sounded like you said it was unclear how the Fed, what kind of interest rate decisions you will make later this year. So does that, in March, there was guidance that 2 cuts might happen, 2 cuts were penciled in for this year. Is that now, that guidance from the last press conference, has that been overtaken by events at this point?
We don't do a summary of economic projections at every meeting, as you know. We do it every other meeting, and so this was the meeting when we didn't do it. We don't also kind of poll people, so I really wouldn't want to try to make a specific projection for where we are relative to that. We will, in 6 weeks, we have the June meeting, and you'll have another SEP. I'm not going to hazard a guess here today as to what it would be. Again, what I would say is that we think our policy rate is in a good place. We think it leaves us well positioned to respond in a timely way to potential developments. That's where we are. And that, depending on the way things play out, that could include rate cuts. It could include us holding where we are. We just are going to need to see, how things play out before we make those decisions.
Great, and just to follow up on that, when you address the issue of how the Fed would handle both rising unemployment and rising inflation, how are you thinking about the fact that addressing one could exacerbate the other? So a rate cut to reduce unemployment could worsen inflation and vice versa. How do you handle those challenges?
You just captured this is the issue with the two goals being in tension. It's a very challenging question. Now, there can be a case in which one goal is very far, one variable is very, very far from its goal, much farther than the other, and if so, you concentrate on that one. And frankly, that was the case. Well, it wasn't a case where they were really in tension, but if you go back to 2022, it was very clear that we needed to focus on inflation. The labor market was also super tight, so it wasn't really a trade-off. I think what our framework document says. It says we'll look at how far each variable is from its goal, and also we'll factor in the time it would take to get there. So, that's going to be potentially a very difficult judgment, but the data could break in a way that it's not. I just don't think we know that. The data could easily favor one or the other, and right now there's no need to make a choice, and no real basis for doing so.
Victoria.
Hi, Victoria Guido with Politico. I wanted to ask, Congress is currently debating spending cuts alongside extending the tax cuts. And I know you've talked many times about how the path of the debt is unsustainable, but given that we're also talking right now about the economy slowing, potentially even recession, I was just wondering, is there a danger that spending cuts now could slow growth a lot more?
We don't give Congress fiscal advice. We take what they do as a given, and we put it in our models and in our assessment of the economy. So I wouldn't speculate on that. I think we do know that the debt is on an unsustainable level, on an unsustainable path.